real thinking, the kind that leads to success, is a skill. And like any skill, it must be developed with practice. I remember a time when I thought I had all the answers. I worked hard, but I wasn't making progress. One day, Mr. Schoaf asked me, "How often do you sit down just to think, not react, not worry, but actually think deliberately, deeply?" The truth, I wasn't. I was too busy running in circles, doing the same things, expecting different results. Great thinkers, successful people set aside time to think. They ask better questions. How can I solve this problem? What's the next opportunity I'm missing? What can I do today that will improve my future? When you train your mind to think critically, creatively, and strategically, you start seeing solutions where others see obstacles. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Start by setting aside even 10 minutes a day. Write down your thoughts. Challenge your assumptions. Expand your perspective by reading and learning from others. Because the better you think, the better you live. And if you don't take control of your thinking, someone else will. If you want to rise above average, you must shift your focus from getting to giving. I'll never forget when my mentor asked me, "How many people's lives are better because you're in it?" That question hit me hard. Up until that point, I had been focused only on my own struggles, my own financial worries. But he made me realize that wealth, success, and fulfillment come from solving problems for others. Think about the most successful businesses. They exist because they serve people. They solve problems. A struggling salesperson thinks, "How can I make more money?" A successful salesperson thinks, "How can I help more people?" That shift in thinking changes everything. The moment you start asking, "How can I create value for others?" your opportunities will multiply. The more people you help, the more doors open. Whether it's in business, leadership, or personal relationships, the law is the same. Your impact determines your income. If you want to move beyond average, start thinking about how your work, your skills, and your knowledge can make someone else's life better. The more you give, the more you grow. And in the end, your success won't be measured by what you accumulated, but by the difference you made. Most people want success, but they want it now. They want wealth without patience, rewards without effort. But real success doesn't work that way. If you only think about today, you'll keep repeating today's struggles. The secret? Learning to think long term. I remember a time when I was struggling financially. I wanted quick fixes, higher pay, better opportunities, an easier way out. But my mentor taught me something powerful. He said, "Don't just ask what pays you now, ask what will pay you for life." That changed everything. Short-term thinking says, "I need money today." Long-term thinking says, "How can I build skills that will make me valuable for years?" Short-term thinking says, "I don't have time to read." Long-term thinking says, "If I don't learn, I'll stay stuck." The wealthy, the successful, the extraordinary, they plant seeds today that will bear fruit tomorrow. They invest in knowledge, relationships, and habits that create a future of abundance. The average person lives paycheck to paycheck, but those who think long-term build a life of financial and personal freedom. Don't just think about what's easy now. Think about what will make your future extraordinary. There are two kinds of people in the world: those who solve problems and those who dwell on them. And let me tell you, the difference between success and failure lies right there. I once worked with a man who always had an excuse for why things weren't working. If sales were low, he blamed the economy. If his health was bad, he blamed genetics. If he wasn't making progress, he blamed his boss. He spent all his time talking about problems, but never once did he ask, "What can I do to change this?" Now compare that to another man I knew, same company, same challenges, but a completely different mindset. When sales dropped, he asked, How can I bring in more clients? When his health declined, he said, what daily habits can I improve? When things got tough, he got better. See, the problem dwellers focus on what's wrong, what's unfair, and what's stopping them. The problem solvers, they focus on solutions. They ask, what's within my control? And that's the key. Life will always hand you problems, unexpected bills, difficult bosses, failed plans. But what you do with those problems determines your future. You can sit and complain, or you can take action. And the people who take action, they're the ones who rise above, while the others stay stuck exactly where they are. Most people use what if thinking the wrong way. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if it doesn't work? They let these questions paralyze them, keeping them stuck in fear and hesitation. But let me ask you, what if you flipped it? I remember a time when I was just getting started, unsure of my future. I could have asked, what if I never succeed? But instead I asked, what if I could double my income in the next 5 years? That one question changed everything because it forced me to think differently. See, the right what if questions open doors. What if I could learn a skill that makes me invaluable? What if I could build something that creates wealth for generations? What if my best days aren't behind me, but ahead? These kinds of questions stretch your thinking. They push you to find solutions, take risks, and move forward. If you let fear drive your what if questions, you'll stay small. But if you let vision drive them, you'll start seeing possibilities you never imagined. And when you start acting on those possibilities, that's when everything changes. If you want to expand your thinking, you've got to expand your mind. And there's no better way to do that than through reading and learning. Someone once asked, what's the first step to changing your life? My answer, change what you feed your mind. I remember when I first got serious about success, my mentor told me, go get a library card. I thought, a library card? What does that have to do with making money? But he knew something I didn't. Wealth starts in the mind. He said, read the right books and you'll start thinking the right thoughts. And he was right. When I started reading, everything changed. I studied success, leadership, business, finance, subjects that rewired the way I saw the world. Books introduced me to ideas I had never considered, strategies I had never thought of, and possibilities I had never imagined. The average person reads 1 or 2 books a year, but successful people, they devour books because they know knowledge is leverage. A single book can teach you what took someone 20 years to learn. A single idea from a book can make you a fortune. If you want to expand your thinking, start reading, feed your mind with wisdom, and soon you'll start seeing opportunities you never saw before. That's the beginning of transformation. Most people look at success and think, that's for someone else. They see the wealthy, the accomplished, the leaders, and they assume those people had advantages they didn't. Better upbringing, more connections, more talent. But here's the truth. Every successful person once stood where you are now. The difference, at some point, they asked themselves a powerful question. Why not me? I remember working at a regular job, making pennies, watching others succeed. I thought success was for them, not for me. But then I met a man who changed my thinking. He asked, do they have 2 brains, 4 arms, a secret advantage you can't develop? Of course not. The only difference was how they thought. They believed they could, so they did. And that's the mindset you need. If someone else built a fortune, why not you? If someone else created a great business, why not you? If someone else became a leader, changed their life, made an impact, why not you? You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need belief, action, and persistence. The moment you stop making excuses and start asking, why not me? You open the door to a new future. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is the mindset you choose today. Who you spend time with will shape how you think. It's unavoidable. If you're around people who complain, make excuses, and see problems everywhere, guess what? You'll start thinking the same way. But if you surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you to grow, your thinking will expand in ways you never imagined. I learned this lesson early on. There was a time when my closest circle wasn't helping me grow. We talked about the weather, about how unfair life was, about why success was out of reach. But then I started spending time with people who thought differently, people who saw opportunities, people who talked about ideas instead of excuses. And suddenly, my own thinking started to change. Successful people think differently because they associate differently. They seek out mentors. They read books by great minds. They have conversations that stretch their thinking. If you're the smartest person in your group, it's time to find a new group. If your friends aren't talking about success, personal growth, and new possibilities, it's time to add new voices to your circle. Because your future is being shaped by the people you think with today. Choose wisely. The way you talk to yourself determines the life you build. Most people don't even realize they're trapped in a cycle of negative self-talk. They say things like, "I'm not smart enough. I'll never make that kind of money. I always mess things up." And over time, those words become their reality. If you keep telling yourself that success is out of reach, that's exactly what will happen. You'll never reach it. But here's the truth. The mind is like a factory, constantly producing thoughts. And if you don't control the production line, it will start manufacturing doubt, fear, and failure. I used to struggle with this myself. When I was young, I would catch myself saying things like, "I'm just not lucky. Maybe I'm not meant to succeed." And guess what? My results reflected those thoughts. But then I realized something. If I could talk myself into failure, I could also talk myself into success. Instead of saying, "I can't," I started saying, "How can I?" Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," I told myself, "I'm learning and improving every day." And slowly my mindset shifted. And when the mindset shifts, everything shifts. So, pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Your words are planting seeds in your mind, and those seeds grow into habits, actions, and results. If you want a better life, start by speaking to yourself like someone who deserves it. Success isn't just about working hard. It's about thinking smart. Many people stay busy, yet never make real progress because they lack strategic thinking. They react instead of planning. They chase opportunities instead of creating them. But the ones who win in life are the ones who think ahead, anticipate obstacles, and position themselves wisely. I remember a time early in my career when I was struggling to make ends meet. I was working hard, putting in long hours, but I wasn't moving forward. Then I met a man who asked me a simple question: "What's your long-term plan?" I didn't have an answer. I was just trying to survive. And that's the problem. Most people only think about today, but if you want to change your life, you need to think 5, 10, even 20 years ahead. Strategic thinking is about looking beyond the moment. It's about asking the right questions. Where do I want to be in 5 years? What skills do I need to get there? Who do I need to learn from? The successful don't just hope for a better future. They design it. If you don't have a plan, you're at the mercy of circumstances. But when you master strategic thinking, you take control. You create a roadmap. And with a clear destination in mind, success is no longer a matter of chance. It becomes inevitable. So here we are, at the end of this journey together. But let me tell you something, this is not the end, it's the beginning of a new way of thinking. Because if there's one thing I want you to take away, it's this: your thoughts shape your life. The difference between success and failure, between wealth and struggle, between happiness and frustration, it all starts in the mind. The average person drifts through life, reacting to circumstances. But the successful, they take control. They think ahead. They develop their minds like a craftsman sharpens his tools. So let me ask you, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to let it inspire you for a moment and then forget it? Or are you going to take action? Start today. Challenge your thoughts. Pay attention to what you say to yourself. Surround yourself with people who make you think bigger. Read the books that will stretch your mind. Plan your future with intention. And most importantly, don't just think, act. Because thinking alone won't change your life. It's thinking combined with action that creates transformation. If you got value from this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to take the next step, commit to making this the moment you change your mindset forever. Because the future isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. Words hold an almost godlike power. Imagine someone who can't see a path to success, someone lost in doubt. But then you come along, choosing your words carefully, sharing your story. And when you finish, they say, "Now I can see. It's clear. Before this moment, I was blind, but your words have opened my eyes." Because there's more than one way to see. Vision isn't just through the eyes. It's through imagination, through possibilities, through the ability to visualize opportunity and the future. It's about seeing solutions, unlocking answers, and overcoming life's greatest challenges. Think about it. Every skyscraper, every fortune, every invention, before it became real, it existed in someone's mind. The Wright brothers saw themselves flying before the world believed in airplanes. Henry Ford saw a car in every driveway before the first assembly line ever existed. They didn't wait for proof. They saw the future before it happened. So my question to you today is, what do you see? Because if your vision is small, your results will be small. But if you can train your mind to see the possibilities, the opportunities, and the person you are becoming, then success is already on its way. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. You've got bricks, wood, nails, and tools scattered everywhere, but no plan. You might start hammering, laying bricks, and hoping for the best. But what are the chances that house will turn out the way you want? Almost zero. That's exactly how most people go through life. Working hard, putting in effort, but without a clear vision of where they're going. And then they wonder why success feels so uncertain. Clarity is power. When you know exactly what you want, confidence follows. It's hard to move forward with energy when you're unsure about your direction. But when the vision is crystal clear, every step has purpose. You don't hesitate. You don't second guess. You move forward with certainty. That's the secret of all high achievers. They aren't just working hard. They're working towards something specific. I remember a young man who once told me, "I just don't feel motivated." I asked him, "Motivated for what?" And he said, "I don't know, just in general." I told him, "That's the problem. You can't feel excited about nothing in particular. You need to know what excites you. Get clear about what you want, and motivation will follow." That's the way it works. If you're unsure about your future, you'll hesitate to take action. If you're unsure about your goals, you'll start, stop, start again, always doubting yourself. But the moment you get clear, your actions become strong and decisive. That's why successful people seem so confident. They aren't guessing their way through life. They see the future in their minds before it happens, and that vision pulls them forward. Think of a runner at the starting line of a race. If they can clearly see the finish line, they explode forward with power. But what if the finish line kept moving? What if it was foggy, unclear, or kept changing? That runner wouldn't sprint. They'd hesitate because they don't know where they're going. That's exactly how most people live. They wonder why they don't feel driven, but they've never taken the time to define what they're running toward. Your vision must be so clear that you can describe it in detail. It shouldn't be vague, like "I want to be successful." That's like saying, "I want to go somewhere nice." Where? How? Doing what? You've got to see it. You've got to feel it. The sharper your vision, the stronger your belief. A wealthy man once told me the biggest difference between those who succeed and those who don't is clarity. He said, people think I have some secret to success. I don't. I just knew exactly what I wanted while others spent their time being unsure. So if you want to move forward with confidence, get clear on where you're going. Make your vision strong, detailed, and undeniable. Because once you see it clearly, nothing can stop you. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because their thinking is too small. They set limits in their minds before life ever does. It's like standing in front of a buffet with unlimited choices but only filling half your plate because you believe that's all you deserve. Your life is only as big as your vision allows it to be. I once met a man who told me he wanted to make an extra $500 a month. I asked him, why $500? He said, well, that would help me cover my bills. I told him, that's the problem. You're only thinking about survival, not success. What if you aimed for $5,000 instead? What if you stretched your vision? You see, small thinking leads to small actions, and small actions lead to small results. But the moment you expand your vision, your actions and results follow. It's like looking at the world through a tiny keyhole. If that's all you see, you might believe that's all there is. But step back, open the door, and suddenly, there's a whole new world of possibilities. That's what happens when you allow yourself to think bigger, to see beyond what you've always known. Success starts in the mind. If you think small, you stay small, but if you stretch your thinking, you stretch your future. Don't let limited vision keep you from unlimited opportunity. Open your mind, think bigger, and watch how your world expands. If you can see it in your mind, you can work toward it. But if you put it on paper, you give it life. Writing down your vision is like planting a seed in the ground. A farmer doesn't just hope for a harvest. He plants the seed, nurtures it, and expects results. Your vision works the same way. If you don't write it down, it's just a wish floating in your mind, easily forgotten or ignored when distractions come. But when you put it on paper, you turn it into something real, something you can see, touch, and remind yourself of every day. I remember when I first sat down to write my vision. I didn't just write what I wanted. I wrote who I needed to become. I wrote about the kind of life I saw for myself, the financial freedom I wanted, the relationships I wanted to build, and the impact I wanted to make. And something changed. Suddenly, it wasn't just a vague idea anymore. It was a plan. It was a commitment. A man once told me he wanted to be wealthy, so I asked, how wealthy? He said, just comfortable. I asked, what does comfortable mean to you? $50,000 a year, $500,000, $5 million? He had no answer. You see, without clarity, how do you know when you've arrived? Writing it down forces you to define your vision, and definition gives you direction. The more precise you are, the stronger your actions become. It's not just about money. It's about designing your entire life. If you want better health, write down what that looks like. If you want to travel, write where you'll go and when. If you want stronger relationships, describe what those look like. When you write it, you give it shape. When you review it, you reinforce it. And when you take action, you bring it to life. Don't leave your future to chance. Take the time, grab a pen, and write it down. Your vision on paper is your blueprint for success. Success isn't something you wait for, it's something you step into. If you want to be wealthy, start thinking and acting like a wealthy person today. If you want to be a leader, carry yourself with the confidence of a leader now. Most people wait until circumstances change before they adjust their mindset. But that's not how it works. The mind follows action. When you act as if you're already there, your mind begins to believe it, and your habits start to align with your vision. I once knew a young man who told me he wanted to be successful in business. He had ambition, but he was waiting for the right opportunity, the right connections, the right time. I told him, start now. Start dressing like the successful person you want to become. Speak with confidence. Carry yourself with posture. Read the books successful people read. Develop the discipline they have. At first, it felt unnatural to him, But over time, something changed. He no longer hoped for success. He became the kind of person who attracted it. This isn't about faking it. It's about shifting your identity. If you see yourself as an average person struggling to get ahead, you'll keep reinforcing that belief. But if you start acting as if you're capable, disciplined, and destined for success, your mind will start to adapt. Your standards will rise, your habits will change, and before you know it, you'll start seeing real results. Athletes understand this principle well. A boxer doesn't wait until he wins a championship to start training like a champion. He trains like one long before he earns the title. A musician doesn't wait until they perform on a big stage to start rehearsing like a professional. They practice as if they're already there. It's the same in business, in leadership, in personal growth. You don't wait to become successful to start acting successful. You start acting successful to become successful. So take a look at your vision for the future. How does that person think? How do they talk? How do they carry themselves? Start adopting those behaviors today. Step into your future self, and soon enough, your reality will catch up. I remember when I first started on my journey of personal development, I was struggling financially, frustrated and unsure of what to do next. But then I got introduced to the power of reading. Mr. Schoaf, my mentor, handed me a book and it changed my life. The words on those pages opened my mind to ideas I had never considered. I began reading everything I could, biographies of successful people, books on business, books on mindset, books on wealth creation. And what happened? My thinking changed. And when my thinking changed, my actions changed. And when my actions changed, my results changed. If you want to grow, you need to be intentional about what you're feeding your mind. Books are one of the greatest investments you can make because they give you access to the thoughts of the most successful people in history. Imagine sitting down with a great entrepreneur, a philosopher, a leader, learning from their failures, their insights, their wisdom. That's what a book does. But books alone aren't enough. Ideas matter too. Have you ever noticed that a single idea, just one, can completely shift your life? A new way of looking at your business, a different approach to a problem, a strategy you've never considered before. It only takes one powerful idea to set you on a new path. But you won't find those ideas in the wrong places. You won't find them in mindless entertainment, in gossip, in complaining. You find them in deep conversations, in study, in mentorship. That's why mentors matter. If you want to succeed, surround yourself with people who are ahead of you. People who can challenge you, guide you, and hold you to a higher standard. I was fortunate enough to have a mentor who opened my eyes to a whole new world of possibilities. He asked me questions I had never considered. He forced me to think bigger. And because of that, my life changed forever. So ask yourself, what are you feeding your mind every day? Are you reading books that expand your thinking? Are you exposing yourself to ideas that stretch you? Are you seeking out mentors who challenge you to grow? Because if you are, you're planting the right seeds. And given enough time and care, those seeds will grow into the success you've been dreaming of. Fear has a way of blinding us. It takes our vision and shrinks it down until all we can see are the risks, the obstacles, the worst-case scenarios. It whispers in our ears, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if you lose everything? And before we know it, we're standing still, paralyzed, unable to move forward, unable to even see the opportunities that might be right in front of us. But here's the truth. Fear is nothing more than a fog. It looks dense, overwhelming, impossible to get through, but the moment you take a step forward, it begins to lift. That's where faith and action come in. Faith is believing in what you can't yet see, and action is the proof of that belief. The moment you act in faith, something shifts. The fear that once seemed so powerful begins to weaken, and suddenly you start to see possibilities you never noticed before. I remember the first time I stood in front of a room to give a speech. My hands were shaking, my mind was racing, and fear was telling me to sit down. But I took that step anyway. And once I started speaking, something incredible happened. The fear faded, and confidence took its place. The same principle applies to every area of life. Want to start a business? Take the first step. Want to build wealth? Learn and invest. Want to change your life? Move forward, even when you're scared. Because on the other side of fear is vision, and once you break through, you'll finally see the future that was waiting for you all along. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle isn't the absence of problems. It's the ability to see solutions. Challenges will always be there. The question is, what do you focus on? Some people see every obstacle as a dead end, while others see them as stepping stones. The wealthy mindset isn't about avoiding problems. It's about training your mind to look for opportunities hidden inside them. Think about the great entrepreneurs of our time. They didn't sit around complaining about what wasn't working. They looked at problems and thought, how can I solve this? The person who invented the airplane didn't dwell on the fact that humans couldn't fly. He focused on how to make it possible. The person who created the electric light bulb didn't curse the darkness. He worked on a way to eliminate it. I remember early in my career when I faced financial struggles, I could have focused on how unfair it was, how difficult the economy was, or how others had advantages I didn't. But I made a choice. I started asking, what can I do to change this? That single shift from problems to solutions changed my life. The mind moves toward what it focuses on. Focus on problems, and you'll find more of them. Focus on solutions, and opportunities will appear. The key to wealth is training your mind to see what's possible, even when the odds seem stacked against you. As we wrap up, remember this: your future is being shaped right now, not tomorrow, not someday, but in this very moment. The thoughts you allow into your mind, the vision you create for yourself, and the actions you take today will determine where you end up. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't luck, talent, or background. It's mindset. It's the ability to see beyond current circumstances and believe in a future that hasn't happened yet. It's refusing to be a victim of small thinking, fear, or doubt. It's choosing to visualize success so clearly that it becomes inevitable. Don't wait for circumstances to change before you start believing. See it now, feel it now, act as if it's already yours, because the truth is life will give you exactly what you demand from it, not what you wish for, but what you work toward with unshakable belief. So take charge. Build your future in your mind first, and then bring it to life with action, discipline, and faith. Because if you don't design your future, someone else will. And you don't want to live by someone else's script. Now go out there and see the future you want, because once you see it clearly, you can't help but move toward it. I grew up in a small town of about 4,000 or 5,000 people. I went through high school, attended college for a year and a half, and then made a bold decision. I dropped out, convinced I was smart enough to chase my ambitions directly. My parents provided me with a solid foundation, instilling values that would later serve me well. Being an only child, they dedicated extra time to my growth, and for that, I'm grateful. A couple of years after leaving school, I met a wonderful young woman, convinced her to marry me, and like many young dreamers, I made grand promises about the future. I assured her that life with me would be fulfilling and prosperous. However, just a few years into our marriage, reality set in. It wasn't looking like she had made the wisest decision. I was struggling financially, constantly running out of money before the end of the month. I was working hard, but despite my efforts, I was falling behind on bills and uncertain about my future. I found myself at a crossroads. Should I go back to school and get more education? Should I try to start a business, even though I had no capital? I had more questions than answers and a deep desire to turn my life around. Then at the age of 25, something incredible happened. A stroke of good fortune came my way, though sometimes it's hard to explain why or how such moments arrive in our lives. A friend once told me, things don't just happen, they happen just. maybe that's true. My turning point was meeting a remarkable man named Earl Shoaff. Mr. Shoaff was an entrepreneur, a businessman, and most importantly, a mentor. He took an interest in me, gave me an opportunity, and brought me into his world. For the next 5 years, I worked under his guidance. Sadly, at the end of those 5 years, he passed away. But in that short time, he gave me something far more valuable than a job. He gave me a new way of thinking. His philosophy, his principles, and his wisdom completely transformed my life. I applied what he taught me, and everything started to change. Years later, as I sat in my home in Beverly Hills, I looked back at the notes I had taken during those 5 years and had a realization. If these ideas had changed my life, perhaps they could help others too. So I gathered my experiences, organized my thoughts, and 5 years ago I gave my first seminar. Since then, I've dedicated more and more of my time to sharing these insights, helping others improve their lives personally, socially, and financially. Over the past several years, I've had the opportunity to travel the world delivering these lessons in many different languages and cultures. I've seen firsthand how these principles can create real, lasting change. And today I want to share them with you. Here are 5 simple steps to rise from average to fortune. You might want to take note of them. Step 1, get serious. There comes a time in life when you have to draw the line and say enough is enough. That was me at 25, sitting in my little apartment, broke and embarrassed. I had potential, I had energy, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And then I realized the truth. Success doesn't show up by accident. It starts with a decision, a real decision. Most people wish for success, but wishing isn't enough. You can wish for a better job, wish for more money, wish for a better life. But until you decide, really decide, nothing changes. And here's the key. A true decision is backed by action. If you're serious about changing your life, you'll start making different choices. Because success isn't something you pursue, it's something you become by changing your habits, your mindset, and your daily actions. I remember when I met Mr. Shoaff, the man who became my mentor. He asked me a question that shook me. Jim, how much money have you saved in the last 6 years? I hung my head and said, none. He said, well, who sold you on that plan? That hit me like a ton of bricks. I had been operating on a casual approach to success, and casualness leads to casualties. That day, I made a decision. I was going to change. I was going to take responsibility for my future. And that's when everything turned around. Think about it. If you're serious about getting in shape, you don't just think about going to the gym. You sign up, you set a routine, and you show up no matter what. If you're serious about building wealth, you don't just hope for more money. You start learning, you find mentors, and you take action. The same goes for every area of life. The moment you decide, really decide, you'll feel a shift. Your thinking changes. Your priorities shift. You stop wasting time. You stop making excuses. And you start focusing on what matters. You start reading the books, listening to the right people, and surrounding yourself with those who challenge you instead of those who hold you back. Some people say, I'll get serious when the timing is right. But here's the truth. There is no perfect time. Waiting for the perfect time is just another excuse. The right time is when you decide to make it the right time. Because time is going to pass anyway. The question is, will you use it to build something meaningful, or will you keep waiting? A year from now, you could be in a completely different place. Financially, mentally, emotionally, if you get serious today. 5 years from now, you could be living the life you once only dreamed of. But it starts with one decision. So what will it be? Because success isn't reserved for the lucky. It's reserved for the serious. Step 2, get smart, grow, and develop yourself. If you want more, you have to become more. That's the simple truth. Success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become. And how do you become more? you get smart. You commit to learning, growing, and developing yourself every single day. There was a time when I thought working hard was enough. I believed if I just put in more hours, did more work, things would change. But I learned something critical. It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. And working smart starts with getting smart. When I was 25, struggling financially, I had no clue what I was doing wrong. I was working hard, but I wasn't getting ahead. Then I met a man who changed my life, my mentor. He told me something I'll never forget. If you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better. That's when I realized that success wasn't about luck or just effort. It was about knowledge, about mindset, about who I was becoming. So I started reading. I started listening. I started learning from people who had the results I wanted. And I began to see the difference. The books I read shaped my thinking. The ideas I absorbed changed my habits. The people I surrounded myself with lifted me to a higher level. Think about it. What separates those who struggle from those who succeed? It's not just talent. It's not just luck. It's knowledge. It's wisdom. It's the ability to make better decisions because you've taken the time to learn. If you want financial success, you must learn about money, how to earn it, how to keep it, how to multiply it. If you want a great relationship, you must study communication, human behavior, what makes relationships work. If you want to become a leader, you must learn how to influence, inspire, and guide people. Most people stop learning after school. They think education ends when they get a diploma. But real education starts when you take responsibility for it. It's reading books, listening to audio programs, attending seminars, finding mentors, investing in yourself. Because if you don't invest in yourself, who will? Someone once told me, but books cost money. And I said, yes, but ignorance costs a fortune. The difference between where you are now and where you want to be is what you know. And the good news, you can change that starting today. Imagine where you could be 5 years from now if you committed to learning something new every day. Imagine the opportunities that would open up if you expanded your mind, improved your skills, and elevated your thinking. Don't wish for success, learn your way to success, because once you get smart, once you grow and develop yourself, success becomes inevitable. Step 3, get going. Take action without delay. You can have the best ideas in the world, the greatest plans, and all the knowledge at your fingertips. But if you don't take action, nothing happens. Too many people wait. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, the perfect opportunity. And while they wait, life moves on. The clock keeps ticking, and opportunities pass them by. I used to be one of those people. I had big dreams, big goals, and plenty of ambition. But for a long time, I was stuck in thinking mode instead of doing mode. I would say, someday I'll start my own business. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday I'll become successful. But the problem with someday is that it never comes. There's always another excuse, another delay, another reason to wait. Then I learned a simple truth. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. No amount of thinking, planning, or dreaming will move you forward unless you do something. I'll never forget when I first got started in business. My mentor gave me all the tools I needed. He taught me what to do, how to do it, and why it worked. But none of that mattered until I took action. I was nervous, unsure of myself, and afraid of making mistakes, but I did it anyway, and that first step changed everything. See, action has power. The moment you take a step forward, things start happening. You gain momentum. You learn faster. You get feedback. You make adjustments. But none of that is possible if you stay on the sidelines, waiting for the right time. Some people say, but what if I fail? My answer is simple. What if you don't? What if you stay exactly where you are for the next 5 years? What if nothing changes? because you were too afraid to start. The truth is, failure isn't the enemy. Inaction is the enemy. At least when you take action, you learn, grow, and improve. Think about a rocket launching into space. It burns most of its fuel just getting off the ground. But once it's in motion, it moves effortlessly. That's how action works. The first steps might feel difficult, but once you get going, you build momentum, and things become easier. If you want to change your life, start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, today. Make a call, write a plan, take the first step, no matter how small. Because once you get going, you'll realize something incredible. You were always capable. You just needed to start. Step 4, get excited. Fuel your journey with passion. Passion is the fuel that drives success. When you're excited about where you're going, nothing can stop you. But if you're not excited, if you're just going through the motions, sooner or later you'll run out of energy. You'll lose motivation. You'll give up. That's why excitement is so important. It's what keeps you moving forward, even when things get tough. I remember when I first started out in business. I had no experience, no track record, and no guarantee that I would succeed. But I had excitement. I was excited about the possibilities. I was excited about what I could become. And that excitement pushed me to keep going, to keep learning, to keep improving. You've probably seen people who are stuck in life. They wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, and do it all over again the next day. No passion, no excitement, just routine. And the reason is simple. They've stopped dreaming. They've stopped believing in what's possible. If you want to rise from average to fortune, you have to reignite that spark. Get excited about your future. Get excited about what's possible. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who challenge you, who inspire you. Read books that stretch your thinking. Set goals that make you jump out of bed in the morning. Because when you're excited about where you're going, success becomes inevitable. Step 5, get away, create balance, and reflect. Life isn't just about working hard, making money, and chasing success. It's about living. It's about finding balance. Too many people get caught up in the grind, always pushing forward, always working, always chasing, but never stopping to reflect, never stepping back to ask, is this the life I want? Am I becoming the person I want to be? Some years ago, I found myself working endlessly, caught up in the race to achieve more. And one day, a friend of mine gave me a simple piece of advice. Get away. Take time to breathe. Take time to reflect. That advice changed everything. Stepping away from the daily routine gives you clarity. When you're in the middle of everything, it's easy to get lost. But when you step back, you can see the bigger picture. You can see what's working and what's not. You can see if you're climbing the right ladder or if you're just running in circles. Some of the greatest insights come when you pause. That's why some of the most successful people in the world take time off, not just for rest, but for reflection. They don't just work hard, they think hard. They don't just do, they evaluate, adjust, and refine their path. So don't be afraid to get away, take a walk, go on a trip, spend time with people who inspire you. Sit in silence and ask yourself, where am I going? What truly matters? Because sometimes the best way to move forward is to step back. You've now heard the 5 steps, 5 simple but powerful steps that can take you from average to fortune. The question is, what will you do with them? Because knowing is not enough. Thinking about it is not enough. The only thing that will make a difference in your life is action. Some will walk away and say, that was interesting. Others will say, I'll start tomorrow. But a few, just a few will say, this is it. Today is the day I take my life to the next level. The truth is, success isn't reserved for a chosen few. It's not a matter of luck or talent. It's about decisions. It's about the choice to get serious, to get smart, to get going, to get excited, and to get away when needed. It's about doing what most people won't, so you can live the life most people can't. I challenge you to take one step today. Just one. Maybe it's picking up that book you've been meaning to read. Maybe it's writing down your goals. Maybe it's making that phone call, taking that class, or finally acting on that idea you've been sitting on. Whatever it is, start now. Because the next 5 years will come either way. The question is, will you arrive where you want to be, or will you be in the same place, wishing you had started today? The choice is yours.